Okay, guys, I thought it would be a good idea to make a video on the trig table that we took notes on in class the other day, just as a little follow-up, and just in case you were absent that day or didn't get certain aspects of it, okay? But anyways, the one thing we focused on the last couple weeks is developing and creating the unit circle. And you see the unit circle has basically all the different multiples of some very common angles that we use a lot in trigonometry, okay? Namely, the 30, 45, 60, 90, 0, right? All the other numbers can basically be derived, like 2 times 90 is 180, for example. 3 times 60 is 180. 3 times 45 would be 135, and so on. So let's make a table again. If you didn't do it last time, maybe you did a sloppy job, whatever. We're going to focus on the first quadrant. And there are two things, or a couple things I want you to remember. Remember, without getting into detail, x on the unit circle is the cosine of angle theta. Y is the sine of angle theta. And tangent is the ratio of the sine over the cosine. And you ought to memorize instantly those three facts, okay? So, let's complete the trig table that we did at least once in class. For example, if I want to know the sine of 0 degrees, right in here, well, I know sine is y. And at 0 degrees, the y is 0. The x, or cosine, is 1. Okay? So, remember, x is cosine, y is sine. So, I know that the sine of 0 is 0, and the cosine of 0 degrees is 1. Now, the tangent, you see, is always the sine divided by the cosine. So if I just took 0 divided by 1, it's 0. So the tangent of 0 degrees is also 0. And let's just continue with the table. If I was to go to the 30-degree angle, let me clean this up a little bit here. Well, here's 30 degrees, or pi over 6. Cosine is square root 3 over 2. Sine is 1/2. So, cosine is square root 3 over 2. Sine of 30 has a value of 1/2. And we'll figure out the tangent here later at the end. Let's just do all the sines and cosines this time. So let's go on to 45. So if I was to go on to 45 degrees, 45, or pi over 4 radians, both x and y are square root 2 over 2. So the sine is square root 2 over 2. The cosine is square root 2 over 2. Let's go on to the 60. If I'm at 60 degrees, which is pi over 3, well, we know that the x, or cosine, is 1/2, and the sine is square root 3 over 2. Okay, so the sine is square root 3 over 2. The cosine of 60 is 1/2. Let's go on to the 90. Well, the 90, or pi over 2, is 0 for x, 1 for y. I mean, after all, that point is 0, 1 right there, right? So, that means cosine of 90 is 0. The sine of 90 is 1. And for extra measure, let's do 180, because that pops up every once in a while. So if I'm over here at 180, or pi radians, notice the x is -1 and the y is 0. Remember, x is cosine, so -1 for cosine, and the sine of 180 is 0. Now, finishing up the bottom, remember tangent is sine over cosine. Let's do the easy ones first. For example, 0 divided by -1 means the tangent of 180 is also 0. For 90, I have 1 divided by 0. Again, sine divided by cosine, right? That's what tangent is. And that's infinity. That's undefined. That will end up being an asymptote when we start graphing soon. Okay? What about the 60? Well, if I took square root 3 over 2 and I want to divide that by 1/2, because that's what I have. Sine divided by cosine, right? Well, one thing I could do is, to simplify this, is times top and bottom of my ratio by 2, because that gets rid of the 2. And notice I have square root 3 over 1, which is square root of 3. So the tangent of 60 is square root 3. What about the 45? Since they're both the same value, right? I hope you agree that if I took square root 2 over 2 divided by itself, and I can do all kinds of weird stuff, but the bottom line, it's going to be 1. Anything divided by itself is 1, right? So we know that's 1. Now we saved the worst for last this time. We're going to take 1/2 and divide it by square root 3 over 2. Okay, and that was 1. So we're going to do sine divided by cosine. So we're going to take 1/2, divide that by the square root 3 over 2. Sine divided by cosine, right? Again, let's start with the same trick. I could times top and bottom by 2. That leaves me 1 over square root 3. But now we have to rationalize this. So let's times by square root 3 over square root 3. And we get square root 3 over square root 9, which of course is 3. So this is square root 3 over 3. Let me go back here in case I went too fast. Again, I have square root 3 over 3. Okay? Now, what's the whole point of this table now, guys? And make sure this is like not only in your notebook, but also maybe on the front or back of a unit circle somewhere. So it's there. It's for you to look at. So if I was to ask you, for example, what's the tangent of 60 degrees? You know instantly it's square root 3, right? And if I was to ask you, hey, what's the cosine of 30 degrees? You know that's square root 3 over 2. Okay? It's just another form, a nice organized table to help you do some of the angles. Okay? In class, we're going to learn to translate this into all the other quadrants, right? But I hope this video helped you make sense of the table we made. And guys, you can't give up on this. You got to keep struggling with me, because through the struggle, you will learn this well. And when you learn this well, it will pay dividends once you get to college. Think big. Don't just think this week or this school year. Think about next school year. Think about college. Okay? You are, without, whether you like it or not, preparing for college. So keep that in mind. All right? I'll see you in class.